Can we all rise and face these? Hallelujah. Blessed are you, Yahweh our King. We thank you, Yahweh, for our lives, food, clothing, and shelter. We thank you for the break that we had. We'll be able to share each other's company, be able to laugh, even talk about your will, O Yah. We thank you, Yahweh, even for our lives. We thank you, Yahweh, for all of the people, O Yah, who come before you and call upon thy high holy name. We ask, Yahweh, that thou continue to be with all of those, O Yah, who are feeling under the weather at this time. We know that there are a lot of people that are not feeling well. We ask, Yahweh, that thou would even cause them all to recover, cause them all to be strong, cause them all to be able to get out of these sick beds and be able to praise thy high holy name. For we know that the dead praise thee not, nor any that go down into silence. So we ask, Yahweh, that thou even be with those who are sick, who are downtrodden, those who are low in spirit, that thou will boost up their spirits and their minds, so Yah be able to praise thy name at 100% once again. We ask you, Yahweh, that thou even be with the family of the Dunn and the Prescott family as they lost their youngest brother, oh yeah, their youngest sibling. We ask you, Yahweh, that thou even be with our sister Yemima, that thou be with our sister Naqueva, that thou be with all the rest of the family, Zakar, and all the family, oh Yah, who even took this loss, all of the cousins, the aunts, everyone, oh Yah, for we know it's not easy to lose a young member of the family, but we ask Yahweh that thou would even have mercy upon them and even cause them to be healed, even for their loss, even their brother, Abi Rahami. We ask Yahweh that thou continue to be with all those who have taken losses, those who are suffering at this moment. Yahweh, please strengthen their spirits and cause them to be strong once again. We ask that thou would even continue to be with those, oh Yah, who are incarcerated, that thou would hear their cries in the house of many doors, that thou would bring them home to their family safely once again. We ask that thou even continue to be with those, oh Yah, who might have went aside and apart from thy way, that thou would bring them back and make them understand that thou art God and God alone, and besides you there is no king, there is no Savior, and there is no other way but thy way. We ask that thou continue to be with our brothers and sisters online who diligently listen to us, who come and congregate with us, convocate with us, even online, because they have nowhere near to them to go out and even praise you. So we ask, Jehovah, that even the words that we might bring forth might be words of inspiration, of upliftment, and to be able to cause them to stay in the path of righteousness. I ask that thou continue to be with even our young brother, Kaim, who is away, oh Yah, even Jehovah, protect them. Keep him away from all harm seen and unseen. Be with his mother, even our sister Dina, and protect them and even strengthen them. I ask Jehovah that thou continue to be with our brother, even Prince Shem, be with his family down in Baltimore, Maryland. Protect them and guide them and strengthen them. I ask you that thou be with Ma'ima. Keep away all diseases away from her, Yah, and even strengthen her. Cause her to stay free from any maladies that might break her down. And Yah, please uplift her spirit, and as she listens to us on the Shabbat, I ask you, Yahweh, that thou would even cause her to even acknowledge that thou art God and God alone. We pray, Yahweh, that thou continue to be with all of our families scattered in the four corners of the earth, that thou will speedily bring them back to the land which thou promised our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Hear their cries, hear their supplications, wherever they may be, whatever struggles or hardship they might be going through. We ask, Yahweh, that thou will hear thy people, Yisrael, and that thou will restore us back to the place which thou promised our fathers. I ask you that thou continue to be with Crown Prince Rishad ben Yehuda, that thou will strengthen them and keep them in the path of righteousness, to be able to teach God's people in the way that they should go. Be with all of our brothers and sisters wherever they might be scattered, oh Yah, even our brothers and sisters in North Carolina, congregations in New York, California, wherever they might be, Guyana, in the land. Hear our cries, speedily return us back, and get us out of the lands of our captivity. Amen. We ask all this in our high, holy, divine name, Yehoshua. Hallelujah. 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 Amen. O Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Yahuwah Eloheinu. O Baruch Shema, Baruch Le'olam, Look at Jacob children all over this world. Look at Jacob children all over this world. Their minds in the dinner, their hearts in this world. Jacob, you better wake up all over this world. Listen, look at Jacob children all over this world. Look at Jacob children all over this world. Their minds in the dinner, their hearts in this world. Jacob, you better wake up. Listen, shrimp is in the fire pan, pork is in the pot. How we get so far from Yah? Family was forgotten. Pray to God Almighty, forget about the Son. Jacob, you better wake up all over this world. Listen, look at Jacob's children all over this world. Look at Jacob's children all over this world. Their minds in the dinner, their hearts in this world. Jacob, you better wake up all over this world. Listen, now we're starting to move east, beating up the mind. But the stark reality, scared to left behind. Look to God Almighty, and get up on your knees. Jacob, you better wake up all over this world. Listen, look at Jacob's children all over this world. Look at Jacob's children all over the world. Hearts in this world. Jacob, you better wake up all over this world. Listen, altars in your pockets, ashes on your head, looking like some creature from the living dead. Look to God Almighty and praise His holy name. Jacob, you better wake up all over this world. Listen, look at Jacob's children all over this world. Look at Jacob's children all over this world. Their minds in the dinner, their hearts in this world. Jacob, you better wake up all over this world. One more. Now we in St. Matthew's Church, looking for salvation. Bowing down to idols, look not on our nation. You big dumb, no dumb. Think before you move. Jacob, you better wake up all over this world. Listen, look at Jacob's children all over this world. Look at Jacob's children all over the world. Their minds in the dinner, their hearts in this world. You better wake up all over this world. Hey, my name is Israel. I can't hear y'all. My name is Israel. A little louder. My name is Israel. A little louder. My name is Israel. Hey, oh, Yisrael. Clap your hands and sing. Let's go, y'all. One more time, Reishi, from the top. me hear you.
Reishi. CHOKMAH. Yira, yira, yira. Yahovah.
One more time. Let me hear you, Moray. Come on.
Reishi, reishi, reishi. CHOKMAH. Yira, yira, yira. Yahovah.
say, hallelujah, 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 up, baby. Stop up to this short and I got you. I got you. We got you. We got you. We got you. We got you. Hey, hey, can I get it on? Can I get it on? Can I get it on? Hey, can I get it on? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Watch it. Hey, may want to jump back. Praise the Lord. Hey. Give me something funky in there. Give me something funky. Give me something funky. You can do better than that. Give me some elbow action or something. You can do better than that. Give me some elbow action. I want you to play his drums. I want you to play his drums too. Let me see if you really got it right. Hallelujah. I was feeling that. Blessed be Yahuwah King. We thank the mighty King for the ability to praise, uplift his name, lose our voices, do what we do, and God appreciates that because that's what we're put on this earth to do, to praise him. So we give glory to his high and holy name. You may be seated. So we ready? Where's Samar at? We ready? You want to come up here and introduce it? With that, I'll call on my brother Samar Zakar Ben Dan. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
First and foremost, just offering all honors, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks to the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, God of Abraham, CHOKMAH. Thank you for all things and everything. I've been to some of our forefathers. Shabbat Shalom to God.
Shabbat Shalom to God.
How's everybody feeling? Man, God is good.
All the time. All the time.
So, we're going to do a little something different.
Yes, sir.
We are going to have a panel discussion led by two of our young ladies. The panel was supposed to be more, but due to different circumstances, these the last one standing. The panel discussion, well, we'll allow them to introduce the panel discussion, and they will be assisted by our representative community black activist, Miss Rhonda. She's gonna help them out, and I'm just gonna be on the side just to kind of guide the questions, just to make sure that we stay on a Shabbat topic and to kind of keep everything organized and orderly.
All right.
So now, first rule. Questions, comments, and all of that, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Because we want to keep the conversation going.
And you're keeping time.
I will be keeping time.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell y'all a quick story, right? We was at, don't worry, I ain't cutting it to you. Y'all got time. Y'all need to study y'all notes anyway. I emailed y'all some more questions. Tell T's to check her emails.
You got 30 seconds.
Thank you. I'm going to get it done in 30 seconds too. So last week, when we had our town hall discussion on Yom Rishon, and we did the same thing. 3 minutes, we talking, because, you know, Israelites like to talk. But we was keeping time all along, 3 minutes, until we had one particular elder stood up. And as her time was going on, so I was warning everybody at the 30-second point, when they got 30 seconds left. I said, the elder was talking, I said, Slee got 30 seconds. She looked at me like this. For 15 of her seconds. And then she kept going. So I gave the elder a little bit of leeway because she was an elder. We got a buzzer and drummers. When y'all go over 2 minutes, we gonna buzz and drum. With that being said, we're gonna call up Sister Pride. Sister Teese, and Miss Rhonda. Yes. And we need a quick adjustment. So if y'all could just slide the table over here. Y'all young men could just slide the table. And young man, you can just move the booth over there. Now, it's a panel discussion.
Give me those play books right there.
This thing. Y'all can sit, relax, make yourself comfortable. And I'm just gonna go over in the corner.
Here you go. You got the buzzer ready?
I got the buzz ready.
You got a box.
Yeah, that's it. When I you see me go like that, just hit the button. Bing, that's it. And as they're preparing themselves, the point of this is we wanted to do something a little bit different. We wanted to show how some of the things that our Israelite culture are actually interrelated in some of the things that we face as a people in these days and times. So whenever y'all ready, y'all can read out what the topic is going to be, and then I'll start with the first question to get y'all started. We have other questions, so we're going to open it up to the audience and online first, and then if there gets to be a little bit of lull in the questions, I got the hard questions right here.
Can we do a definition first?
You can do whatever. This y'all. Y'all do what y'all do.
Yeah. So, the topic, I'm Tisania. The topic of this is Sister Pride and Miss Rhonda, as was announced. So the topic of this panel discussion will be Israelites and voting. Is there a scriptural choice? We will discuss that. Scriptural prohibitions of putting a foreigner above us, and are we putting ourselves in harm's way in not voting? So the focus of scriptural prohibitions comes in.
That's your 2 minutes.
No.
So what we got? I'm just playing. But what I am going to ask is, if you start off by reading the scriptural reference from Deuteronomy, just so everyone knows what the question is based on. Yeah.
Am I
going to be buzzing? You might.
So it says in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15, "Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, with whom Jehovah thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not put a foreigner over thee, who is not thy brother." But in looking at this verse, you must first look at the verse that comes before it, where it says, "When thou art come into the land which Jehovah thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like all the nations that are round about me." So it kind of gives parameters in which this applies. So because we are in captivity, we don't have the ability to set kings above ourselves. So, you want to say?
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay. So I just wanted to give just a definition of what type of government we're in America. So in the Tanakh, it's talking about monarchs and kings and queens and all that. And so in the United States, we function as a democratic republic. And so for people who don't know what that means, is a democratic republic is defined as a nation that simultaneously a republic and democratic principles in national elections. So when we vote for a candidate, that is a democratic republic, and that's how we function as a government in the United States. So when we go back and forth with the Tanakh, I know some may be confused because they're talking about kings and queens, and then we're talking about candidates and, representatives. So it's different. And then also we have the three branches of government, which has the checks and balances in America. And so the three branches of government is the executive branch, which consists of the president and the administration system, which is about 5 million people in the executive branch. And then there's the legislative branch, which is the Senate and the House of Representatives. And then it's the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court. So I just wanted to give you a definition of the overview of what type of government we live in now in America. So,
Okay, perfect. So now, first question, before we open it up to questions, is going to be, we're going to ask, as related to the scripture that you ladies read, how should Israelites go about dealing with voting? In your opinion, does that scripture prohibit Israelites from voting in this society?
Based on that scripture, no, because it references what the parameters for a king would be, and because we're not in our land and we're not sovereign to the point where we can have our own leadership governing us, we are in our captivity, and therefore the voting process isn't just for us, but it's to represent the land, the people who are currently a part of this land and this society. And
so I definitely agree, but also when we look in Deuteronomy chapter 1 verse 13, it says, pick yourself. No, it's okay. My Tanakh reads a little different. So it says, pick yourself from each of your tribesmen who are wise, understanding, and knowledgeable, and make them heads over you. So as far as the United States, it reference to the people who are knowledgeable and understands the political realm that we're in. We should make them the leaders. But also, as we live in a democratic republic, we have the right to choose and vote who should be in these positions. So if we don't like what someone is doing for the next term, we can vote them out and then put someone that we agree who represents us in our community to be in these positions to make calls and laws and policies.
Okay, so we're going to open it up to the floor for any questions before I go with my next follow-up.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
You said the executive branch had 5 million.
So yeah, it's 5 million workers. So that's in the administrative branch. So whoever's over like the housing, Ben Carson. So Ben Carson and his department, who's ever over the house in their department, it's all of that.
I understand that you included the work.
Yes. Yeah.
What is a democratic republic?
Okay, so a democratic republic is what the United States, how we run our government. So it's the people who we vote into office. So you know, in the Tanakh, it has kings and queens, and that's defined as a monarch. So kings and queens equate to monarchs. Democratic republic in the United States equals to people voting people into office. Understand now? Okay, good.
Any more questions before I go on to my next question?
One more?
So that verse that you referenced in Deuteronomy 1:13,
Yes.
where it says, choose for your tribes wise, understanding, and experienced men, and I will appoint them as your heads. How are those men selected? Back up. How are those people selected?
You go back to what we read in last week in Exodus chapter 18, verses 25 and 26, where it says, okay. And Moses chose able men out of all of Yisrael and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought to Moses. Well, actually, let me move up. Because this was after Jethro suggested that Moses choose people rather than him dealing with all the cases brought to him in the matters of Torah. Okay, it says, verse 21, moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating unjust gain, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10. So therefore, the leaders that we have over us have to be individuals who put Torah before their own opinion. They fear the Most High, and they want justice rather than what can be beneficial to themselves.
What do you say for people, there's somebody online that put, or people that feel this way? This system is not geared for us. Also, no matter how much we vote and go out and vote, the government will put who they want in office.
Well, there are two different voting processes. You have the Electoral College, that's how you elect the president. The president, there's the popular vote, and based on who we vote in, we are voting for the electors of either candidate. So the Electoral College gets these votes and they make decisions by the state. So the presidential election, while our opinion can have an impact on the way that our state vote, it's not, it's eventually up to the electors. But for senators and for the people in the House of Representatives, we vote for them directly, so they're elected for the popular vote. So when you vote for people in Congress, you're able to get people who can represent your needs more from your community, and they represent what you want to present, and that's how you allow people to continue to be reelected or not. So it's the system, the American governmental system is not bad in theory. The way that it's set up, it allows for the different branches to be checked, and nobody has too much power. But the problem is the execution and the people who are elected. And that's why it is important for us to go out and reach out to make sure we choose people who we believe are best able to represent those who they are elected by in order to have our needs represented in government.
And I would just like to speak about that a little more. When we speak about that, we speak about local elections. And so what's going to impact our community the most? So yes, we have the president, but we also have local elections. And so I just have this booklet. I'll give it out if you would like to see. But it has all the positions that we vote for in New York City. So we have the mayor, we have city council, we have public advocate, we have borough president, we have district attorney, we have state assembly member, we have state senator, and then we have governor. So we have all these different positions that are up for grabs for people to campaign for and run for that directly impact our community the most. So if you feel like your school isn't getting funding, if you feel like your police officers aren't policing the communities correctly, if you feel like, there aren't enough after school programs or free lunches, these are the positions that you need to go out and vote for. Yes, the president election is important, but local elections impact the community the most.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So is it in order like the most highest?
Yeah, there's order to it. There's order to it. The governor doesn't do what city council does. So, for example, I'll do city council since it's a smaller elected official seat. So, city council is only a portion of the borough. For example, I live on Staten Island, and so in 2021, the city council seat is going to be up for grabs for all New York City, but it's only going to be a portion of Staten Island, so it's going to be the North Shore, and that's the 49th district. Each city council is divided up into, I think, 61 districts, and that means 61 different people get to represent their district. So whatever the popular community is in that district, like in South Bronx, you may get Hispanic, and so you're going to get the person who represents your community at best. Oh, thank you. Well, we're both smart. This is what we go to school for.
So how can you convince an Israelite who is not, who will say that this system, like the last question, this system is great. How can you convince me through Torah that it's okay for me to vote, to go out and cast a ballot, to go out and do all that? How can you reinforce that with Torah?
Okay.
For people to feel like they're comfortable and going out and voting or doing anything of that sort? How can you reinforce it with
So Torah doesn't speak of elections because that's not the type of government that any ancient civilization had.
Right.
But it does speak of, I'm going to the book of Ezra, And the book of Ezra references in the first chapter. Let me find the page first. In the first chapter, it talks about King Cyrus. So I'll read it. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished, Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kingdoms of the earth hath Yahweh, the God of heaven, given me, and he has charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. So, whosoever there is among you of all his people, his God be with him. Let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of Yahweh, the God of Yisrael, and he is the God who is in Jerusalem. So it showed. Let me also go to Ezra 5 verses. Well, it talks in Ezra 5, 6 through 6:15. I'm not going to read it because it's a lot to read. But it talks about King Darius, and under his reign, we were able to complete the rebuilding of the temple. So when you have leaders who the Most High God has given the Spirit to allow us to build as a community, that shows the importance of who we have in charge of us, whether we be in captivity or not. In captivity, it is important that as we build up to being able to go back into the land, we have the necessary means to do so. And like with King Cyrus and King Darius, we were able to do so because the Spirit of God was in them. Now we don't really know about the officials who we have now because we don't have prophets to speak to the Most High God and tell us who is and is not chosen by God to allow us to build up as a nation. But through the voting system, we have the ability to choose those who allow us to build up as a nation and give us the resources and make sure that we are best suited to build up as a nation.
I would like to add to that, just also representation matters. And so if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So if you don't see yourself in these positions, if you don't see people in our community running for office or just working in someone's office, you're not going to see us accomplishing these things to elevate the nation. And so we need to, we need to see ourselves in these positions to help grow the nation, if that makes any sense.
So, I have a question. Should government and politics stay separate in the Hebrew Israelite community?
Okay.
Do we have any references in Scripture that indicate that Israelites themselves took part in government, especially while they were in captivity?
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because we didn't understand that question.
Yeah.
When we read it, I'm just telling you the truth. We did not understand this question because it said should government / politics be related, stay separate with Hebrew Israelites, and so I'm thinking we've always had some sort of government or some sort of leadership and hierarchy in the Tanakh. So I'm thinking, yeah. But the reason why we didn't understand it because we was like, was it American government?
Yeah.
Was it American policy? So that's where we got confused. But
because government in itself is not exclusive to a democratic republic like we live in.
Yes.
Government is meant to do for social control and maintaining some sort of civility among people.
Yeah.
So for us, we had a form of theocracy before we had King Saul, where it was the priest who had who had roles in maintaining the order within the nation through relaying the messages from the Most High God and giving us the laws and allowing us to practice executing justice and whatnot. Then when we had the king, there's also very similar, like they kind of split up the roles where the king had power and the priest still maintained power. That is government, and politics are just the way in which it's executed. So we've always had government, but we of course need to separate what kind of government that we're referring to. So if you go to Genesis 41 verses 39 to 40, where it says, And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as God has shown thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. So that shows when Joseph, after being in captivity, he was as a slave, and then he was in jail. the Most High God gave him the position in which he can influence Egypt. He was given that much power, and he was eventually able to help his family through his organization and the wisdom that the Most High God granted him, showing us to have leadership roles in the Tanakh. If you look in the book of Daniel, Daniel also had a position of power. I'm trying to find the verse.
While you're looking for that verse, I'm just going to take the next question.
Very good.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
It
Shalom.
was not a question. It was an answer. It was a comment to what you asked the question of. If you go to the book of Esther, chapter 10, verse 3.
Yeah, we've had that too.
Mordecai and Esther, we both referenced as people who've had positions of power within our captivities, and therefore they've had the ability to help us out of the different situations we were in. Mordecai having a high role in being able to talk directly to the king, and Esther being the queen, she was able to deliver that
message in the way, and the message that she knew that her husband was going to receive it. And so that was interesting in itself because she was in a predicament.
Yeah, so Daniel chapter 6, starting from verse 1. And Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. It pleased Darius the king, set over the kingdom 120 satraps who should be throughout the whole kingdom, and over them 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was one, that these satraps might give account unto them, and that the king should have no damage. So again, another leadership role in which the Most High God granted one of our people in captivity, where we were able to represent our people in it, despite being in captivity and despite our rights being limited within.
I see.
Yeah, so to finish what I was saying, a lot of the reason why people say that they're not supposed to participate in this governmental process is because it's our captivity. But even if you go to Jeremiah 29, for therefore he sent unto us in Babylon, saying, the captivity is long, build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. And we were also told that we're supposed to still get married and things of that nature. So if people can go and get married, people can build houses, people can buy houses, all of that is participating in the system in which you're living, because when you buy a house, you're putting your name on a mortgage, you're getting a deed. When you get married, you're going to get a marriage certificate. So unless you're completely divesting from the entire process of the land in which you're living, just to say that you're not going to vote is not really that you're being 100 about your objection to participating in the society. It's that you're picking and choosing how you're going to be active.
Okay. So the only thing that I'm going to ask is, I know y'all have a book. Can y'all just read the verse that she quoted? Because I know she doesn't have a mic, and I just want to make sure that everyone online heard the verse that was
Jeremiah 29,
verse 28.
Okay. Okay. For as much as he has sent unto us in Babylon, saying, the captivity is long, build ye houses and dwell in them, plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. So that was the point that was being made, that if you're participating in these other functions of our captivity, why not this? And that also goes back to being considered citizens after the passing of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. We do have the rights of American citizens, though in captivity. And therefore, if you're not participating in the governmental process because you feel like that's not us, why not just forfeit your other rights? The right to have an assembly like this where we're practicing the service of the Torah without being persecuted for it. There's so many rights that if we just decided to forfeit, we would have nothing, and we'd be demoted back to basically slavery in which we came. So it's very important if we have the rights to do so in order to better ourselves, why not partake in it?
And I also want to add, if we participate or even if we don't participate, laws and policies are put in place to affect us either way. So if you want to vote, if you don't want to vote, we are still getting locked up, we are still getting shot, we're still not having jobs, we are still not having money in our communities. So either if you feel like you do or you don't, just know things are going to happen with or without you. And so you need to pay attention, because even without the president, there's still corruption going on. So everyone's focused on this, you know, the president. I mean, when Stacey Abrams was running for governor, they stopped 107,000 Americans, black Americans, to register to vote. And she only lost by 55,000 votes. So either you want to be a part of it or not, things are going to happen, and it's going to affect us regardless. So I think we should be in tune.
I just want to say, so just to kind of clarify, Stacey Abrams was the African-American woman who was running for governor in Georgia. Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
So I want to say this, right? Just to play, for lack of a better word, devil's advocate. Shalom. All right. Because I said devil's advocate. So, just to play devil's advocate, right? So you said Stacey, what's her name? Abrams. That they, you said that there were over 7,000 black people that were not allowed to. 107,000 black folks
Registered to vote.
and were not allowed.
But her opponent, who was also running for governor,
But also the Secretary of
he
State.
was the Secretary of State. So he was able to oversee her campaign. So all these papers filled out with voters registration forms, he did not process.
So then my question is this. If he's allowed to do that in a democratic system where you're supposed to be able to freely go out and vote and do all these things, then what is the purpose of us voting if someone could just put a roadblock like that at any time? So how does that benefit us anyway?
And this is where the president comes in. The president appointed him in that seat.
You're not answering my question.
But you still have to vote. You still have to vote.
You just said that 107,000 black people were not allowed to vote, right? And she lost by 55,000 votes, right? So we assume that at least 80% of those black folks would have voted for her, right? And she would have gotten in. But if they could rig the system, for those black people not to register to vote, then what's the purpose? This is what some black folks will say. What's the purpose of us registering to vote anyway?
But I think this operates on the assumption that all voting age people who are eligible to vote voted. This also emphasizes, like, if every black person in the district who was able to vote, regardless of those who the opportunity was taken away from them, did vote for her, she would have been in. So I think it kind of focuses on, okay, you have these people who may have lost the opportunity, but what about the people who had the opportunity and didn't take it?
And you also have to think about what was happening during Obama. So they were building a coalition against us during Obama. You know, they were redlining and gerrymandering, and they were doing all of these things during Obama to prepare for this moment. So there's another reason why, when a lot of black people were sleeping under Obama, they were building this coalition against us, against people of color. So
gerrymandering and redlining they're basically the process of redesigning the districts that's already been established, so that in a district or whatever area in which you're talking about that may have voted one way is now cut up so that it votes towards the opposition. This happens a lot in the South, where areas that may have been Democratic because there's a large black population are changed so that it's Republic oriented, and now you have a Republican in that seat, or it seems like a Republican district, even though it's not.
And it's majority black.
And that happens because of the census. And we're coming up. The census is coming up. So what the census is a
The microphone would explode.
So let me finish. So the census is a process where everyone gets counted for, And so to prevent gerrymandering and everything like that, everyone has to get counted. Children, women, men, cousins, uncles, everyone has to get counted, because without the census, certain communities don't get funding.
Right.
And so we need these fundings to help
finance schools,
roads,
and a
voting, everything happens because of the census, and the census happens every 10 years. So if you don't do it now, you're going to have to wait another 10 years, and then you're going to complain about what's not right in your community. When you could have just wrote, I live here, my name is this, I have these amount of children, and that's just that.
You know it anyway.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question? I'm coming from the other point of view.
Okay.
So the Tanakh tells us, right, that Egypt was the iron furnace, right? And to Israel, Egypt is synonymous with bondage, captivity. Later in history or in the prophecy, the Most High God told us not to seek Egypt or not to go back to Egypt, right? And that's symbolic of leaning on Egypt for help, right? So wouldn't that also be equivalent to leaning on Egypt for help, because this is like the second Egypt? And if we are conforming to their system and following their system, wouldn't that make us go against what the Most High God has already told us not to do?
Are we in the positions to thrive off of each other? That's my question. Yeah.
Yes. I'll answer yes.
So right now, if we was to get off the grid and let's just say live like the Amish people, are we able to farm? Do we have our own policing? Do we have our own sources of food? Do we have our schools? Do we have lawyers? Do we have doctors? Do we have everything that is put in place in this society to help us sustain the same type of a custom of living that we have right now on our own? Because if we are, we should just pack up and do it. But if not, we can use these resources, elevate ourselves, go to school, do the things we have to do, and take these resources and bring it back to our community. But if we don't use the system for what it is, I mean, everyone does it. I have a million Nigerian friends, and they just come here for international students, and they go back home, and you take those resources back home and try to build their community. So I think we should be wise that we have a system in America that sometimes it's free for us to go to school, it's free for us to get some meals, it's free for us to live in certain places. We should use the resources and then be out and work on ourselves. But if we just use it to be dependent on it, I think that's where the issue lies. But if we're not trying to get off of it, then what's the point? But the point for me and my family, I'm gonna go to school for free because I can, and then guess what? I'm gonna bring it back here with y'all, and we gonna get the resources. You know?
Right.
Can I follow But I was just saying, of course, I think that's more about the Most High God telling us not to lean on Egypt is more about comfort.
Yeah.
Because when we were leaning on Egypt, whenever there was a problem, we're like, oh, I want to go back to Egypt. And that's what the Most High God doesn't want. We just need, Pride said, we need these resources in order to build up our own communities, in order to build our own wealth, accumulate wealth, have professionals in different areas that make it possible to sustain a community. Because the idea of, oh, let's move out and we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough lawyers, we don't have people with the skills needed to function as a community means nothing, because we're gonna falter if we don't have it. And if we, of course, when we have our belief in the Most High God, but we need more than just, we will hope that the Most High God will give us everything we need. He's not going to drop the knowledge of being a doctor or being, or to just do these things.
Architect,
he offered,
plumbers,
yes.
Carpenters, you need everything.
He allowed for these systems to be established, these curriculum and whatnot to be established, so that we can learn and that we can bring it back, rather than relying and saying, oh, now I want to stay here because they offer me this. You have to think, okay, now that I've been offered this opportunity, what can I do to bring it back home and make sure that everything that I've done wasn't in vain, to show that the Most High God, that I care about my people, and I want to make sure that everything that I've learned and what I've been able to accumulate comes back, so that we can have a better life and lead a better understanding towards the Torah.
I'm not getting hand claps. I thought my questions were good. I'm just acknowledging the bias that's on me.
It's true. Preface every statement with devil's advocate.
My next question is this. So are you guys suggesting that, because I'm going to go back to the original topic, right? The original topic is, should we, the Tanakh says that we should not put a stranger over us, right? So it's all right, you don't have to mess around with it. We don't have to put a stranger, we should not put a stranger over us. So then, are you suggesting that when someone of our race is running, then we should vote? And when someone of the opposite race is running, we shouldn't vote?
No.
That's
No.
But then wouldn't that be putting a stranger over us?
But I mean,
If we vote in someone that's not of us,
Okay.
right? And I'm talking about black or brown people,
The
Okay.
collective.
right? That's not of us. We put them into power,
Yes.
right? Wouldn't that be directly against what the Most High God said?
well, a black or brown person can be a foreigner too. And a black or brown person may not have our interest in mind. There's, like, you can see a lot of black people who may have come into wealth in whatever way that they have. They oftentimes neglect their communities because they like, okay, I have money, now I'm gonna do for myself. Or if I've been able to reach this level, this social class, why can't you? So I'm gonna do what I need to do, and you guys, if you can or cannot, that's on you. So they can, and also if we're talking about foreigners, that's just anyone who's not an Israelite. And even though we all recognize that the black people brought through the African diaspora were Israelites, not many are self-identifying. But that also goes back where to the 14th verse that says when you're in the land. Because we're not in the land, we're not sovereign, and we're not really placing someone directly over us to operate as Israelites and to operate as the nation of Israel. The person who's elected anywhere in the United States is a representative of the United States. So regardless, it's not really for us. It's for the country and how we can benefit while we're at least still in captivity.
Okay, so we got 2 questions, and just give me 1 second, because I just got to let y'all know right now that somebody who will remain nameless, I'll tell y'all later, they sent this super curveball, so I'm letting y'all know right now, so that y'all could be prepared
We know.
for the question.
It's Black History Month.
This person don't care about Black History Month.
Wow.
So the question is, just bear this in mind as we take the next 2 questions. The question is, so are we violating Torah if we allow ourselves to be counted in the census?
I thought about that.
And we're gonna talk about the person who did that. So we got Brother Israel in the back.
I just wanted to say, as far as like us doing our own thing, as far as like our own community, we did it already and they destroyed it.
Yes.
So
What's the reference? You said.
he's talking
So I
about
just want to.
I mean, there's a lot of different.
Okay, so no, because I want to do it for the people online. The statement in the back is referencing building our own community. The brother said, we did that already and they destroyed it, referencing Black Wall Street. I just wanted for the people online. Go.
What's to say that they won't do that again, right? And then the second question is, all right, do you think like us participating in this government will like distract us from thinking why we really here, meaning like, because the book says we're supposed to be think ourselves, right? So in our captivity, right? To figure out like why we here, like if I send my son to his room, I tell him think about what you did or whatever the case may be. So in that sense, so in that sense, do you think like participating in the government will distract us from thinking why we're really here?
Okay. We're gonna have.
Well, the
We're gonna do the first question answer the first question, and then we'll go on to you.
All right, so I'm gonna have to time
So
you.
I think going back to your first question when you talk about Black communities, I'm from Alabama, and I was just telling the ladies during lunch that there are several Black communities in Alabama that are thriving, with Black people running them, with black people, but the majority of the county is African American. But they're thriving. I think that it can be done. I guess we have to strategize on how we can do it. But I think black people, the collective, we have what we need in order to make this work. Now I get it, the government coming in, doing like the Rosewoods and the Oklahomas and all of that stuff like that. But there are black communities that are thriving, that are run by black people, mostly in the South, but it's working. So I think that we should look at that. And then I'll push the question back to you. Do you think we as black people who have done so much for this country should be living in the shadows of this country? I mean, I personally don't think we should. I think we should stand up. As you can see right now, they're talking about the black vote. The Democrats are leaning on the black vote because they know that there's no way they're going to be able to win the presidency without the black vote. And then when you take the black vote, you always got to take the black woman vote. Now we go back to Alabama when we went through that whole Doug Jones, whatever his name was. But it was the black women. 95% of the black women in the state of Alabama voted to get that man out of there, or not to have him come in there. So there's also a moral compass that black people carry that the other nations don't carry. We have to be able to, and that's part of our light, I believe, is that moral compass. So I don't think that we should be living in the shadows. I think we should be out. I think we should be counted. And I think the people need to know that we're here. We shouldn't be afraid.
No. I know. 2 questions.
But also,
They got to answer the other question.
yeah.
Right.
Well,
yes. Thank you.
also going off that, we've never been a people who gave up and just laid on our backs. As you look at the civil rights era, all the people who've been sprayed with hoses, who's been lynched, they never stopped fighting for what they believed in. And Black Wall Street wasn't the only black community that thrived. There's been so many more. And just because it's been destroyed once doesn't mean that we can't come back better than ever, because we always have the ability to do so. And going to the second... Oh.
Go, Tease.
I was going to... Oh, because I was...
Tease, go.
Is that,
Look, I got
but
this.
yeah, like there's so many different communities that we've had, and although something may be destroyed because of whatever circumstances may come up, the jealousy or whatever may drive somebody to do that, the Most High God has us, and He's given it in our heart to be able to do these things, and we can always rebuild. We're resilient people, and just because that's happened doesn't mean that it can stop us.
Okay, so I know, so we're just going to go to Chief Neff in the back, and then we're going to go to,
This is not a
I got you. I got you.
Even though we're talking about America as an example, our people in the diaspora, Israelites in the diaspora, has always fought for community. Brazil, they kill white people, kill this enslave us to form their own community. The Maroons in Jamaica, everywhere you go, we live. That's the way we want to live, because we are not a homeborn slave. We are people that understand what it is to be independent, to have our own, and that's the only way community can really exist, is to be kind of free from the oppression. And we will always, there's always going to be a Black Panther Party, there's always going to be something that fights for the right of our people to exist freely, even in captivity. We always have.
Also, the Haitian Revolution becoming the first Black republic on the West Hemisphere, because they fought against the French. They started something. And that's why the United States and all these other slave-owning nations hated Haiti, because they showed that Black people will not continue to be oppressed and will continue to fight. And they made sure that they cut people off and not making them think that they can fight, and breaking them down mentally, so they thought that they couldn't build up and rise up.
I want to touch on that. We got a couple more questions. Sister Yael, next. I got you.
I have a question, and I'm going to preface it by saying that the voting rights that we so-called enjoy today, we know that it had to do with the civil rights movement, but we know that those 2 key figures were always Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It is Honorable Elijah Muhammad who brought it through with Malcolm X, right? Yeah. So one of the things that he said was that it's either going to be the ballot or the book. Yeah. So my question to you is, do you think that perhaps the reason why Israelites specifically have an issue with voting is because if we look at the blueprint that was given to us from that movement, we noticed that there was one group of people who was pushing for laws to be changed, and then another group of people who were a lot more militant in their approach, okay? Who were like, we will separate and we will do what we have to do, and we're also not going to turn the other cheek if you come at us. Do you think that the problem that we have today is that all of the emphasis is on the voting, and there is no other arm for the balance? Because it seems like the Nation of Islam kind of pushed the envelope so that the powers that be were like, well, I guess we should listen to what Dr. King and those people are saying, because this side over here seems really rough. You know, and then my second part to that is, wouldn't that have also, I guess, even the people who want to separate, won't you need to have a militia, an army? Because if you're saying that whatever we had, they always took from us, even if you look at our blueprint in the Torah, we had an army, we had men of war. So do you think that that's what the issue is with us, is that we're kind of lopsided, we're putting everything on moving one way and we're not developing another way, is the reason why we can't get it all together?
I would like to answer that. So I feel like we do have that. It's just at a smaller scale. So I'm the former president of the NAACP Youth Council in Staten Island, and so we do push that. But then you have Black Lives Matter, right? So there's two different groups fighting for the same thing, but they just have two different ways of getting there. And so yes, I feel like you need the lawyers, you need the people in these spaces to change laws, but also you need the people to protest and, I don't want to say riot, but you need people to protest.
Civil disobedience.
Thank you. Civil disobedience, to be in the streets, to let, you know, everyone know that we're here and we're not going to stop until laws get changed. So I feel like we do have it, but it's at a really small scale, and it's not as organized as, I would say, the Black Panthers movement. You know, I don't feel like we have it like the Black Panthers movement, or in the movement of where Malcolm X and Martin Luther King was alive. But I feel like we do have it, it's just at a smaller scale, and it's not being publicized like we are able to organize. I feel like we are able to organize, and we do have the education and we have the examples to do so, but I don't think it's like it's publicized that we can do it.
They specifically were using their Second Amendment rights. The Black Panther Party specifically police the police.
But they changed.
Wait, hold on. So wait. Because what I do think we should be careful with doing is addressing. So I understand once we start talking about armies and all of those different things, I just want to kind of hold off on that conversation because that's a different type of conversation.
Okay.
So we just gonna. Yes, ma'am. And then plus I have to get back to the question from the Uncle Tom on my phone. I'm just playing. Yeah, come on. Go.
So it's not really a question. It's like comment. So like if the Most High says that we're gonna prosper, we're gonna prosper. If they come and take it from us, the Most High is always on our side. So that way we can win the battles, and He's gonna give us the strength to build back those wins.
Amen.
Back our community.
Amen. So that was a very excellent response. She said, and this came from a young lady who indicated that God said we're going to prosper. So even if we prosper and someone seeks to take it away from us, God said we're going to prosper, so God can always do it again. I know you have a question, but we have to get back to the question about the census and does allowing ourselves to be counted in a census violate Torah? Go.
I mean, we in the Tanakh, if you look at the book of Numbers is all about making sure that you keep count of the people, not everybody. But Numbers chapter 1, it says, "And Yahweh spoke unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, and the tent of the meeting on the first day of the second month, in the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, every male by their polls, from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Yisrael. Ye shall number them by their host, even thou and Aharon. And with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one head of his father's house." So we're not supposed to be numbering, as Israelites, we're not supposed to be numbering everyone, but there is some form of census keeping count of people who are able to go into war, that is men 20 years and over. So we kind of have a system like that. Yeah.
We had that already. It's just now counting children and women.
You got a question? All right, somebody online has a question. They said, why focus on changing laws in the land that we do not want to reside in?
I just want to know.
Oh,
okay.
I just wanted to. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I have a question for people who feel like we shouldn't be here. Do we have a plan to leave, like to go back? If that, like, because we're here, we're living, we're thriving, whatever. But if we have a strategic plan and we have goals set to say, hey, in 2025, we're gonna pack our bags, we're gonna go back, like, is that set in place for people who feel like we shouldn't be here? That's just a question that I have for people who feel like if we're here, we shouldn't participate in things. Well, what is the next thing? What's moving forward? What are we doing to lead?
Yeah, that's the while we are focusing on changing laws, we are doing so for to how to better our people here. Because if we go, we are really not prepared as a people to go return to the land. We're not organized even within our own states that we live in the United States. We're not prepared to do so. Not in like ideology, not in economics. We have a lot of work to do. So the least that we can do is that at least while we're in captivity, we can make these arrangements so that when we go into the land, we are prepared to not to sustain ourselves and to observe Torah the way that it's meant to be observed. Being here, of course, is an obstacle, but we can make it to our betterment so that when we do make it to the land, we are finally able to practice it and not have to end up in another captivity.
I'm gonna go to Jeremiah.
Well, I mean, again, you could go back to Jeremiah 29:28, where it says, "For as much as he sent unto us in Babylon, saying, The captivity is long, build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them." We've been in the United States since 1619. Those who've been in the Caribbean have been here since the 1500s, 1600s. You have people who've been in Europe for longer. So of course, you know, you have the ideology, 400 years and we should be out. But the 400 years for many places, that time is already up. For us, that time is already up. So it's not really about a period of time in which we need to be here. It's about how we're going to establish ourselves as a nation in order to return to the land, because we are ready, not because we think that there's a time period in which it must be done.
You got a question?
Statement, not a question. Since this inception of this country, there's always been things to inhibit the progress of the people here, as far as Israelites are concerned. And there's always been things that we've tried to fight to make sure that we have as much freedom as we can have. And that fight is going to be ongoing. Sometimes we forget that racists have kids. You know, racists, they have kids that go to Harvard and Yale. They have racists that have kids that are Republicans and Democrats. They're here. What do you do to fight the onslaught of the people that are trying to see your demise happening? And you do that on every front. So as you're saying that we shouldn't have laws, we need to have everything. We need to have everything to our disposal that we can fight, and we mainly need the power of the Most High God. But God doesn't tell you not to fight.
That's right.
God never says, just stay there, lie down, take it, because part of our mission is to make sure that we protect ourselves.
That's right.
Some of us have issues with food. Legislation has a lot to do with that.
That's right.
Housing, legislation has a lot to do with that. Clean water, all of that stuff. We need to fight for what we can fight for, because they're always trying to do stuff to destroy us.
I mean, like
So I'm just going to say, so we're winding down on time. So I just want to ask have Chief Uzael ask his last question. We're gonna ask this last question or statement right here, and then I'm just gonna ask you young ladies to kind of provide a summary, and then we're gonna start the closeout process.
All right. There's some people here that, you know, they want their statements read, so. It says, only Yah commands the census. King David was offered 3 punishments for ordering the census without Yah commanding him to do so. All right, so that's one statement. So then the next question will be, and that's, you know, talking about what people have been saying and try to put it in question form. When it comes to going back and saying that there is no set time and the 400 years are up, I think most people are looking at it in the sense of how we came out the first Egypt. There was no preparation for that. God just told Moses, thus and thus and thus, you know, pack up what you can pack up, eat the bread in haste, get out in haste, because in the morning it's time to get up out of here. So in terms of a time, there's really going to be no preparation when the Most High God has time for us to go. You're going to have to drop whatever you have and you have to keep it moving, right? So in terms of time, there is no preparation for that. But people are asking, and one of the main questions that they're asking is, why would we put a stranger over us? Meaning, and I think when they mean a stranger, you know what I mean. I don't want to say it. Y'all are smart young ladies, and you know exactly what I mean. So I think most people don't have a problem putting someone that look like them or sort of like them, but people have a problem with putting someone differently over them, and that's the question that most of the people are pushing.
So we're gonna take the hand right there, and then we'll get it.
And we're also gonna come at, this is like the second Egypt. We're gonna also come out of this Egypt just like we did before. Borrow our neighbors' jewelry and stuff, and then the land of the stolen. That's how it's gonna be.
So before y'all wrap up and make your final statements, I just want to kind of, because I know there was a lot of questions. So the scripture that was read, and they read it earlier, and I'm only going to reiterate it just for the purposes of people who came in later, because these questions came up again when it was actually discussed earlier. The scripture says, "You shall not set a king over you." No, excuse me. You shall set a king over you, whom Yahweh your God shall choose. One from among your brethren shall he set over you. Shall you set king over you? Ye may not set a stranger over you, who is not your brother. So that reference, as they eloquently put earlier, specifically refers to a king in a monarch type society. That's not just a universal, you shall set anything over you. And actually, if you look at the irony of it all, they weren't the ones that set the king over them anyway. It still came from God. So if we could just get y'all final thoughts so that we can wrap up.
I just wanted to bring up the point where it's setting a stranger, meaning someone who does not look like you. It's important to still vote regardless, because when you don't vote or when you're misrepresented in your voting, you have the continuation of people, like if you look at Woodrow Wilson, the Reagan administration, Richard Nixon, Bill Clinton, where you have all these periods of time in which for Wilson it was the KKK coming back. The Reagan administration using crack to fund the different wars that it's had. Nixon limiting our abilities to change the school district so that we have a better education so we can better our communities. Or Bill Clinton with the war on drugs, and you have mass incarceration of black people. It's important regardless to have people who are going to represent you so that we can avoid these situations in which our people have come downtrodden and different things that impact us and allow us to be brought down, because we still, regardless of whether it's a black person or someone who looks like somebody who presents themselves as Israel, saying that they want to represent us, it's important to have people who will best represent us and best allow us to function as a community. And it's not just about the votes, and it's not just about the laws in the United States. It's making sure that while things are good for us here, that we make the necessary preparations internally to better our communities and not wait until things get bad and be upset about things and try to make preparations where we may not have the ability to get the resources that we need to do so.
I concur. I definitely agree. My final statement is just going to be vote, 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 vote. Census. And like I said before, if you vote or if you don't vote, it's going to affect us anyway. So when we do have the opportunity to vote, allow yourself to have access on what's going on. Allow yourself to do research. Just how we meditate on the Tanakh. Look up your local city council member, your Senate. Look up what the governor's doing. Where's the funding from New York City? Where is that going to? What community is that affecting? Are you getting money? Do you know the number to the senator? Do you know the number to your city council? There are resources out here for us to know these things. We just have to do the work and search for them. So I have voter registration form if you need them, and that's that.
So, just in wrapping up, I just want to read one more scripture, and this is Jeremiah 29:7, where it says, "And seek the peace of the city where I," talking about the Most High, "have caused you to be carried away captive, and pray to Yahweh for it, for in its peace ye shall have peace." So at no point did God require us to just sit and take anything from anybody. What I would like for y'all to do is please give these young ladies a super round of
So that also.
If you have any government questions,
yeah,
we are the people.
These are our future congresswomen.
So maybe we have an Israelite candidate after all.
That's right.
These are all going to be our future congresswomen. All right. Hallelujah. Blessed be Yahweh our King. Thanking the Most High God for Sister Pride, right? And our sister Tasania. I think there was a hope in here today. So, you know, I wouldn't have been wrong. But I'm glad that they brought forth what they brought forth. And, you know, they did an excellent job. But we keep each other sharp. So these are the questions that Israelites have about voting, but you also have to remember that if you're a congregation and you have a 501c3, you're part of the system. You know what I'm saying? If you tax exempt, you're part of the system. So these are all things that we have to think about. You know, laws of you got all types of laws that you could change within the books if you put certain elected officials in there and you get them to work. That's how the Europeans do it. The Jews do it. The Jews, they rent out their vote as a block. They don't care about white, black, whoever it is. If you're going to help them, that's how they're going to vote. And that's how most of their community vote. So we have to get wise and we have to understand what is it that we're doing and understand who to put in a position of power to help them out. People get mad with Trump, but all he's doing is doing what Trump, you know what, my friend looked out for me, I'm going to look out for them. I'm going to exonerate this one. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He's in a position of power. Who's going to stop him?
I don't understand why the black collective don't understand how much power we actually have. I mean, they're after us for our money, but it's so much other power that we have, and if we collectively, not just, Israelites, but the Black collective get together and really truly vote as a block, we'll have
I don't think
power.
because we're so separated that we don't understand what it is to be unified. So that's the problem. Hallelujah. This time I'll conclude with the blessing that the Most High God gave unto Moshe to give unto our Haron and sons to bless the children of Israel, hoping and praying, and on the conclusion of this day, that the Most High God look down upon each and every one of us and grant us a blessing. Wadaber Yahoah el Moshe lemor, daber el Haron we el benal lemor, kol tebar kwe bnei Yisrael amor lahem. And Yahoah spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto our Haron and unto his sons, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel. Ye shall say unto them, Yivareka Yahoah Yishmareka, Yair Yahoah Panawaleka Wikuneka, Yisai Yahoah Panawaleka Wayasem Leka, Shalom. May Yahoah bless thee and keep thee. May Yahoah make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May Yahoah lift up his countenance upon thee and may he grant thee peace. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Everyone have a great week. To the people online that would like to donate, some of y'all already started donating from early. We appreciate it. To everyone that has donated, let me thank all the people that have donated. You got the names? Shalaya. Persall, thank you for your donation. Who else? Scoots Levy, thank you for your donation. To Benjamin. The Sarah Pearsall, thank you for your donation. And everyone else, you know what I told you last week. No short arms in deep pockets. Do what you do. Can you fix that camera so they can see me? So they can see I'm speaking to them. To the people online that would like to donate, you can also send a check or money order to D.C.B, B-E-I-T, D.C.B, 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. Once again, D.C.B, 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. That's for everyone online. And we continue to tell everyone online, thank you for your donations. Also, you can donate to us on Cash App. The Cash App number is 347-622-9090. Once again, 347-622-9090. Also, if you go by the Cash App what is it? The name? What is it? It's $bait DCB. $bait DCB. Also on PayPal, info@baitdcb.org. Once again, on PayPal, info@baitdcb.org. That's for everyone online. Continue to support us. Everything that we try to do, we do it for y'all. Every new piece of equipment and everything that we do, camera and whatever we try to do to make it sound better. I know sometimes it seems like it's all over the place. That's because it's not stationary. So with that, we thank y'all for continuing to support us, and tune in back again during the week as we will have other things going on. Also, any announcements? Tomorrow, Amzadi at Restoration Plaza. What's the time, Chief Naftali?
12 o'clock.
From 12 to what? 12 to about 5 or 6. 12 to 4? Be there on time. Which room is it going to be in? Upstairs, downstairs? All right. I don't know what Chief Naftali went, but don't forget that. Any other announcements? Anything else?
What time do you want us there? I walked in.
You got to ask Nav.
Okay.
I think he wants you there at 12, though.
I'm always on time.
All right. Let me see. All right, so I don't know, but I've been told Ima Couture is blue years old. Chief Czar, where Chief Czar? Chief Czar just entered into eldership. Where is he? Where is he? Tell him to get out of here. We're gonna have a basement meeting room 2. That's where it's gonna be at. Where's Chief Czar at? That Just for Men is working well. Come on, Chief Czar. You gotta do your birthday dance, man. Ima Couture and you.
You want Ima Couture?
Yes. Y'all ready? The sons is ready. The grandchildren are ready. Let's go, Ima. Let's go, Czar. What you gonna do? Put it. You don't want to be online with that. Here we go. All right. Yo mule. God bless y'all with many, many more years. Amen. Any other announcements? Anything else that we need to know? Drinks is on Chief Czar tonight. Drinks is on him tonight. Oh, all right, yes. All right, as y'all know, the Unity Shabbat venue has been changed from the tent in Restoration Plaza. Did we speak about that amongst us? We didn't. All right, so this is what's happening. Restoration Plaza don't pop up the tent till May 25th. We need it for May 23rd. They want us to charge us $2,000 more to pop up the tent a couple extra days early, so that wasn't going to fly. So we got a school in Brownsville, right, that seats 400 people. We're going to get the cafeteria, the bathrooms, and the auditorium in order to do our Unity Shabbat. So it's still going to be May 23rd, and it's going to cost us half the price of what the tent would have cost us.
It's
So,
going back to the community.
and we're going back to the community. There you go. So that's what's happening. Our boat ride is still on for May 24th from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's on the Yom Rishon. Everybody come out. It's a 300-seat boat. So we need everybody to sell tickets. I believe tickets is about $60. And that's how we doing it. So everybody come out and have fun. We're going to promote the Unity Shabbat. They've been successful so far, so we got to keep on promoting them. Amen? Amen. Hallelujah. Donations and obligations. See Chief Elquan. I thought he was supposed to pick them out.